Are you a Harry Potter fan looking for a new way to appreciate the series? Do you love delving into the characters, plot, and themes of your favorite stories? Then Muggle Snuggle, brought to you by Hustle Studios, is the podcast for you. Each week, we explore a different aspect of the Harry Potter series in a deep and meaningful way. But here's the catch, we do it in the most boring way possible. That's right, Muggle Snuggle is the ultimate Harry Potter snooze fest. So grab your wand, find a comfy spot, and get ready to snuggle up with us as we dive into the magical world of Hogwarts. Whether you're a die-hard Harry Potter fan or just looking for a new way to enjoy the series, Muggle Snuggle has something for everyone. So join us and get ready to snuggle up with your favorite Muggles as we explore the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to Muggle Snuggle, brought to you by Hustle Studios, today.
Okay, imagine this. You're walking along a narrow dirt path at dusk somewhere deep in the province. Maybe it's somewhere in Quezon or the foothills of Mount Cristobal. The sun is gone, and the only light you've got is from your phone's dying flashlight. The trail's grown unfamiliar. The trees here? They're ancient, massive trunks, gnarled branches. You've seen bility trees before, but these ones? They feel different, watching. You keep walking, nerves buzzing, and then snap, a twig. Not yours. You freeze. You don't see anything at first, but there's that feeling, the weight in the air, like something massive is nearby, something tall. Watching. Your eyes drift up, and there he is. Perched in the branches of a massive narrow tree is a figure the size of a van. Dark-skinned, eyes glowing like embers, a thick cigar burning slowly between his lips, and he's just grinning. You want to run, but then you feel it. The path behind you, it's not there anymore. You try to retrace your steps, but you find yourself walking in circles. Trees rearranged, sounds twisted. Something's laughing now, neighing like a horse, but wrong. Echoing above and around. And suddenly, you realize you didn't just walk into the woods. You walked into their territory.
Oof, okay. That's a hard note from me, Alex. I already felt the creeps halfway through your little forest stroll.
Laughs. Hey, I warned you we were going deep tonight. And I meant deep, as in the heart of the Philippine wilderness.
Oh, mission accomplished. You just took us there. So to everyone listening, welcome back to another eerie episode of the Stories Philippines podcast. This is episode 4 of our first season, Creatures of the Night. I'm Reed, and I will not be going on any forest hikes after this episode.
And I'm Alex, and I might still hike, but only if I've got a bolo, a handful of salt, and maybe a local albulario walking beside me.
Locker laughs, or a priest, just in case. Tonight, we're stepping into the thick underbrush of one of the Philippines' most enduring and most misunderstood set of creatures, the Kapre and the Tikbalang.
They're big, they're intimidating, and they've got a reputation for scaring the heck out of anyone who crosses their path. But here's the twist. Are they really evil?
Or are they guardians of the old world, protectors of the forests, and ancient spirits who've just had enough of humans being disrespectful?
We're going to explore that question tonight. We'll dive into the deep lore, colonial roots, Spanish distortions, local sightings, urban encounters, and even their roles in pop culture. And yes, we've got creepy stories that'll make you think twice about walking past a balete tree alone.
So get comfortable, preferably indoors, and light a candle if you're superstitious. Because tonight, we're asking, Are the creatures in our forests guardians or ghouls?
So before the term Kapre even entered the scene, our ancestors already believed in something dwelling in the trees. Spirits, guardians, shadowy presences that weren't necessarily good or bad, but they were there, and they had to be respected.
Right, we're talking about pre-colonial animism. Long before Christianity arrived, indigenous Filipinos believed that everything had a soul. Everything. Trees, rivers, stones, mountains, all alive, all sacred.
And forests? Man, forests were like holy ground, places where unseen beings lived. You didn't just march in and start cutting trees. You asked for permission, you left offerings, and you said the magic phrase we still hear today, tabi tabi po.
Exactly. Excuse me in a spiritual sense. Like saying, hey, I'm passing through. Please don't get mad, okay? And if you didn't say it,
Boom, your ankle swells up like a coconut, you get disoriented, you fall ill for no reason, and suddenly you're begging an albulio to come do a healing ritual, because you messed with something you can't see.
Now, when the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, they looked at these beliefs, and let's be honest, they didn't see spirituality. They saw superstition. They saw paganism. So they did what colonizers often do.
They rebranded. The forest spirits turned into demons. The protective giants turned into threats. And that's where we start seeing terms like Kaprean, early Spanish reference to the Kapre, possibly derived from the Arabic word kafir, meaning infidel.
Which is wild, right? Because that means the word Kapre might not even be native to the Philippines. It might have been a colonial import used to demonize the brown-skinned, forest-dwelling spirits that locals respected.
So instead of guardians of nature, they became monsters, beings to be feared, which brings us to the Kapre as we know him today.
Let's break it down. He's big, like really big. 8, 10, even 12 feet tall depending on the story. Dark-skinned, muscular, hairy, and always smoking a fat cigar.
And not just for aesthetic. That cigar, it's said to produce supernatural smoke that can either hide the Kapre or enchant the people who breathe it.
Like making you forget what you are doing, making you wander.
Which makes sense when you realize that being led astray is one of the main side effects of a Kapre encounter. People often report walking through a forest and getting lost, even though they know the trail. They walk in circles. They see familiar landmarks over and over. Classic Kapre mischief.
Then there's the Tikbalang, which, despite some overlap with the Kapre, has its own distinct mythology. Tall, yes. Humanoid, yes. But with the head of a horse. Sometimes with backward-bending knees. Always with a knack for pranks that aren't really funny.
Tikbalang lore is found in many regions, but is strongest in places like Batangas, Rizal, and the Cordilleras. People there say the Tikbalang can lead travelers astray, make you hear whispers in the trees, and laugh just out of sight.
There's even a belief that if you want to stop a Tikbalang from messing with you, you need to wear your shirt inside out.
Which is wild. Like, who figured that out? Who was the first guy to get so lost he thought, you know what? Maybe if I wear my shirt backwards, this horseman will leave me alone.
Laughs. Desperation is the mother of invention. Anyway, both the Kapre and the Tikbalang are creatures of the outside, of nature. And when we look back at our pre-colonial past, it's clear they were tied to one thing above all else.
Respect. Respect for the land, for the unknown, for the beings we don't understand.
And maybe, just maybe, that's where the line between guardian and ghoul starts to blur.
So let's talk about the Kapre in action. Not as a symbol or myth, but as something people have seen. Toomiro, or at least think they've seen.
Right, because you ask anyone who's lived near the mountains, or even just near a dense forest, and you'll eventually hear it, May Kapre diyan. There's always a tree, always a story, always someone who swears it happened to them, or their lolo, or their cousin's friend's neighbor.
And one of the most common places the Kapre is said to live? The balete tree. Now, if you've ever seen a mature one in person, you get why. It looks like something from a horror movie. Thick roots hanging like ropes, shadows curling even in daylight, and
that smell. Musky, earthy, ancient. Like the tree has memories older than humans.
There's one story I heard from a guy in Nueva Silla. Let's call him Danilo. He was coming home from a friend's place late at night, had to pass through a small clearing with a massive velete in the center. He'd done it a dozen times, no big deal.
But not that night.
Nope. That night, halfway past the tree, he smelled tobacco, strong, like someone was right beside him smoking.
But no one was there.
Then came the chuckle, low, deep, like a laugh coming from someone above him.
He looked up, didn't he?
Of course he did. Curiosity is dangerous that way. He swears he saw a massive, dark figure sitting in the tree. Legs swinging, cigar glowing in the dark, eyes like dying coals. And that grin. Danilo said it felt like the thing knew his name.
So what did he do?
He ran. Didn't look back. He said the path behind him stretched endlessly, like the tree was playing with him. He only made it home after praying out loud and tossing his shirt inside out. That last part, his grandmother told him it would confuse the spirit.
That tracks. And Danilo still lives there?
Still lives in the same barangay. Still avoids that path at night. He said he'll never forget that grin.
Chills. Here's the thing. These stories, they don't just come from remote provinces. There are Kapre sightings in places like Laguna, Rizal, even parts of Metro Manila.
Yes, there's a legend from Parañaque of a Kapre haunting a subdivision where a huge tree was cut down to build houses. After the tree fell, strange things started happening. Kids got fevers. Dogs wouldn't stop barking at empty corners. A neighbor said she saw a figure crouched on her roof. Huge, crouched like a gargoyle.
That's the thing about the Kapre. He's not just a creature of the mountains. He's a creature of the trees. And trees? Well, they're everywhere.
Which means maybe, just maybe, so is he. Alright, so if the Kapre is the watcher in the tree, silent, imposing, and mostly rooted in place, then the Tikbalang, he's a whole different nightmare.
Oh yeah. Tikbalang is a mover, a manipulator. He doesn't just observe, he plays games. And those games, they mess with your sense of direction, your sense of time, even your sanity.
So let's define him first. The Tikbalang in almost every account is tall, unnaturally tall. Think of a basketball player stacked on another basketball player. He's got the body of a man, the strength of a carabao, and the head of a horse.
And don't forget the backward knees. That detail always gets me.
Same. There's something deeply wrong about that image. It hits that part of your brain that goes, this isn't supposed to exist.
Tikbalang stories are some of the oldest in our folklore, even older than the term itself. Some folklorists believe it could stem from early Southeast Asian beliefs in forest tricksters or giants. Others think it was reshaped by Spanish friars to frighten people into staying out of the wilderness.
But no matter the origin, the Tikbalang we know today has one goal: to confuse you, to lead you in circles, and sometimes to make sure you never find your way out again.
You've probably heard this before. If you're hiking, especially in provinces like Bataan, Quezon, Benguet, or Zambales, and suddenly you realize you've walked in a circle for the third time, you say, Tikbalang tu.
The traditional advice? Wear your shirt inside out. It supposedly disorients the Tikbalang just enough to release you. There's also a belief that you can negotiate with one by offering tobacco, coins, or even just showing humility.
Now let's get to a classic tale. This one's from Cavite. A woman named Rowena was traveling to visit her sick aunt in the next town. It was a route she'd taken dozens of times. 2 lefts, 1 right, then straight along a rice field.
Simple. Until that day.
Right. That day, she says everything changed after the first turn. The path felt different, longer, quieter. The birds stopped chirping. The wind disappeared. Then she passed a certain tree, a crooked acacia with a strange rust-colored mark on its trunk. That's when she realized she had passed it 3 times already.
Looking.
Exactly. The sky started to darken, even though it wasn't even noon, and she could hear, not see, just hear. Hooves. Walking. Stalking.
The Tikbalang was watching.
Rowena dropped her bag, flipped her blouse inside out, and muttered a prayer. Then she said out loud, "Tabi tabi boom." She turned around, and for a split second, just one, she saw it, a towering silhouette. Horsehead, glowing eyes. Then she blinked, and it was gone.
She found her way back.
Yep, but she said it felt like she was gone for hours. Her family clocked her trip as barely 15 minutes.
Time distortion. Classic Tikbalang signature. And I love that detail. Just a glimpse. Not full confrontation. That's what makes these stories scary. The Tikbalang doesn't attack. It plays.
And sometimes it wins.
There are even tales of Tikbalang marrying a human, holding them captive in some other realm. They're rare stories but eerie ones.
Which makes you wonder, maybe the Tikbalang isn't just a spirit. Maybe he's a bridge between our world and something deeper.
So we've met the Kapre in history. We've been toyed with by the Tikbalang on his winding forest trails. But now the question hangs in the air. Are these beings evil?
That's the thing. When we really dig into the stories, when we listen closely to what people say, they rarely describe these creatures as outright malicious.
They're terrifying, yes, but in a way that storms are terrifying. Or the ocean at night, powerful forces that don't care whether you exist or not. Until you trespass, until you disrespect.
That's such a key word, respect. Because these stories, they're not just entertainment, they're warnings. They're lessons about how to live in harmony with nature, with the unseen, with the old ways.
There's even a theory, especially among cultural anthropologists, that creatures like the Kapre and Tikbalang may have been metaphors, embodiments of local rules and taboos.
Like, don't go into the forest alone becomes a horse-headed being will make you vanish, or don't cut down ancient trees becomes a cigar-smoking giant will curse you.
Exactly. Morality tales, behavioral anchors. But at the same time, they are too specific, too widespread. These stories exist across islands, in places where people didn't always share language or culture.
And that consistency makes you wonder.
Here's something interesting. In Ifugao beliefs, there's a spirit called the Bulul, which is often carved into rice god statues. It's a guardian, not unlike the Kapre in function, stationed near crops, watching, not inherently evil.
And in neighboring countries, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, you find similar creatures. Giants in trees, forest tricksters, spirits that lead travelers astray. This isn't just a Filipino thing. It's Southeast Asian.
And that tells us that maybe, just maybe, the Kapre and Tikbalang aren't monsters at all. They're reminders of what we've forgotten, of what we've paved over with concrete.
Of what still lingers, if we're quiet enough to hear it.
Before we go read, I want to share something we got in an inbox last month. This one came from Erwin, who grew up in a small barangay near Mount Makiling.
Mount Makiling? That whole mountain is a hotbed of legends. Go on.
Erwin said his grandfather used to tell him never point at the trees at dusk, especially not the ones with the thickest shadows. Of course, one day Erwin, being a kid, forgot. He pointed at a gnarled old tree with a cigarette burn mark on its bark and said, "That looks like someone lives in there."
Oh, no.
That night he woke up choking, not sick, not coughing, just choking, as if something was pressing down on his chest. His father rushed in, saw his lips turning blue, and then his his grandmother, ran in, slapped his hand, and said, "Ye pointed, didn't you?"
Let me guess, they made an offering?
Yep. At dawn, they brought a lit cigar, a bowl of uncooked rice, and a glass of lambanog to the tree. The moment they placed it at the foot, Erwin says, the pressure vanished. Like flipping a switch.
It's so chilling, but it's not unique. We also got a voice message from Ira in Tagaytay. She and her college friends went on a spontaneous hike and found an old trail near a coffee farm. There were no signs, no paths, just a feeling they should keep walking. They walked for over 2 hours. Circles, same trees, same rock, same bird call. It wasn't until one of them flipped her hoodie inside out and said, "Tabi, tabi, po," that they found the road again. 5 minutes later.
And here's what's wild. This wasn't decades ago. This happened in 2022.
That's the power of these stories. They're still happening. Still being told, passed down not just through generations, but through podcasts, Reddit threads, TikToks, and us.
And maybe that's why they endure. Because whether you believe in the Kapre or the Tikbalang, you still feel something when you walk under the canopy of an old forest. You still whisper, "Tapi tapi po," even if you're just being polite.
Because it's not always about belief. It's about acknowledgement that we are not alone in this world, and that maybe we never were.
We want to thank you all for joining us tonight in this journey through deep roots and crooked trails. If you've got your own story of a forest encounter, something strange that happened after a shortcut through the trees, we want to hear from you.
Visit storiesphilippines.com to submit your experiences. You can write them down or record your own voice for a chance to be featured in our future episodes. And don't forget to check the show notes for links to our Patreon and how you can support the podcast. Subscribers get access to extended episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and live horror hangouts with us.
Make sure to like, follow, and share this episode if you enjoyed it. Because remember, when you're lost in the woods and you hear laughter just beyond the fog,
it might not be the wind.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Reed. You've been listening to Stories Philippines podcast. Thank you for joining us tonight. Sweet dreams. And remember, always ask permission when you enter the forest, because someone might be listening.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Are you a Harry Potter fan looking for a new way to appreciate the series? Do you love delving into the characters, plot, and themes of your favorite stories? Then Muggle Snuggle, brought to you by Hustle Studios, is the podcast for you. Each week, we explore a different aspect of the Harry Potter series in a deep and meaningful way. But here's the catch, we do it in the most boring way possible. That's right, Muggle Snuggle is the ultimate Harry Potter snooze fest. So grab your wand, find a comfy spot, and get ready to snuggle up with us as we dive into the magical world of Hogwarts. Whether you're a die-hard Harry Potter fan or just looking for a new way to enjoy the series, Muggle Snuggle has something for everyone. So join us and get ready to snuggle up with your favorite Muggles as we explore the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to Muddle Snuggle, brought to you by Hustle Studios, today.